So hello Esther, and welcome to our little interaction chat where we speak to each of the artists about how their work went on. Interaction is a participatory theatre and interactive technology creative lab as part of Galway 2020 and Galway Theatre Festival. Esther Namathi has been working with us since December on a part-time basis, and she has created a work called Speak Like No One in Particular. So I just wanted to ask you a few questions, Esther. First being, could you tell me a little bit about your work?
In general, or?
Could you tell me a little bit about your piece, Speak Like No One in Particular?
Okay, yes. So it was, or it is a piece that is very tricky for me because it's about my voice. So it's a work that is trying to map my voice, or it's the research that is trying to map my own voice and how it has changed through kind of my life, but particularly how it has changed through crossing borders, or which are the kind of let's say social constructs that have changed it, and so that was the original idea of it, and the form then is a conversational performance, let's say, which is also broadcast on the radio again originally, and then everything kind of shifted because of course I was mainly developing this during the lockdown, so what I thought will be like a research that I will talk to a lot of experts or outside people to kind of construct a documentary text around my voice, or a kind of structure of looking at voice in general through my example, and then was sort of stopped because I found myself locked into my apartment and having to sort of retransfer my own voice would have been way too violent. So I realized, okay, I have to look at it kind of by myself, or what does that mean, or with friends, but again in strange digital interfaces. So it shifted in this sense, and then it became yes, but it was still about my voice, and so I started to be interested in what we say that is not the words, let's say, and what constructs these things in conversation. So then the piece became a conversation around this, which was constructed from my conversations with friends and my hesitations and strange vocal expressions, and also the audience's own reflections then. So somehow it became a conversation, and the reading and the kind of performance lecture all broadcast through internet radio to also an external audience who then would listen, which was in the end kind of the point, like how do we listen to voices who are expressing differently or speaking differently.
So you actually created a work that incorporated so many levels. You had participatory audience members who were sent a script in advance. You had other audience members who were just listening via the live broadcast, but you actually had a Zoom conversation that was open to everyone at the end. And how did you feel those went?
It was very interesting. I mean, so basically we did two sharings and then one rehearsal. So it's kind of three occasions when we could test this moment, because it was quite tricky to think how to open, like basically how to open from me speaking in my apartment alone to myself to like a conversation to strangers. So that was in any way the challenge of the piece, and then that challenge was in a particular moment when we opened the work towards a kind of radio interview situation, and then out towards the audience and inviting them in. On Sunday, this did not happen. It just became feedback very quickly because of, I guess, how the frame of that normally is. No, like the moment at which you can talk as an audience, you're expected to just reflect in that sense. And on Monday also, what was interesting is that when we stopped the because at a certain point we stopped the broadcast, but the people remained in the Zoom. So we found that in that moment, the discussion sort of started to happen. Like when it was no longer broadcast, of course, because it's a scary situation to be suddenly not just expressing your opinion, but expressing your opinion as part of a work, and then also like being broadcast, so it's a bit blurry.
Yeah.
So then we found that the conversation happened after, but then on Wednesday, the conversation happened quite before, because it got opened quite forcefully, and then everyone felt like, okay, now we can enter. And so that was super nice to see, like really like discussion sort of becoming, and even if it was kind of hard to finish and be like, okay, and now we just play the end credit. So that was developing all through the week, so that was very nice. And on Wednesday people stayed for an hour after the end,
which is incredible. That's incredible.
Which was super nice. And also like some of them were my friends, so they were like somehow hanging out in my house at the end. So it was very bizarre transition from like, oh, my house is now a theater, and like, oh no, now my house, I think it's a house party. Now we're in the after. But like one of the Zoom audiences who was someone from Germany who was joining us because he wanted to participate into the Capital of Culture. And so he found it through that. He was there also for an hour after. So it became something very, very curious, actually, like the whole process of it, like post-show kind of, how it slowly ended,
in an after party, as all theatre tends to do. You're also doing you're currently in the middle of a 2-day workshop, and it's a writing workshop, and it's taking place over Zoom, and it's taking place over the full 2 days. Could you tell me how that's going for you, seeing as we're in the middle of lockdown at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to host a workshop. I mean, I have done it before, so because I just finished making a work with young people through this kind of interface. So I thought I know what I'm doing, but that was much more paced out. So I would work with them an hour and a half a week, and then over 6 weeks. So now it's quite intense, these 2 days. And Zoom is very exhausting. And I'm like, it's very interesting to find how the interaction is happening between people in this strange disembodied environment. It's very hard to really see what's going on, or to hear things. But then I guess it's also dealing with this. So there is something nice that, like, the difficulties of the workshop, like, I mean, the running of the workshop become kind of the topics of the workshop. Like, oh, what do you do when someone loses interest? And then you're like, well, I am trying to perform that for you right now. So that's also very interesting, because I think we are all learning about this environment together.
Which I guess leads me to, how has been you've had kind of 6 weeks to work on this, work a little bit part-time, and during that time it has been a COVID-19 lockdown. So how has creating work from your gorgeous apartment been over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, it was a very funny moment because it was this moment when everyone was reflecting and doing this like soul searching thing anyway, because we were all at home and it seemed like everyone was busy with themselves, and then I was busy with myself in this very structured way, and not at the same time. So it was a funny thing of being like, oh, I think I'm working on it now, but maybe I'm not. Like, I'm sitting in the sun watching the birds. Is that research? Or am I just sitting in the sun watching the birds because I need time out from other things? So it became very like blurry and strange. And yeah, what I was saying, that like I realized that there's some things that I just cannot do in this way, it's too, like, some things are too intimate because it's really the beginning, so the things were becoming like handleable. And like I don't know how to create that space to discuss these things with someone I don't know from before. So I always was gonna work with my friends, but then it became this thing like, okay, no, I really need to focus on that and work with them, or work, like, speak and interview and with them.
And so where do you see the work going in the future? We obviously hope to bring this to a physical format at some point when all this is over. But where do you see the work going, and what learnings have you taken from the work so far?
Well, I think like what I'm very curious about is this reading together thing, which I always thought will be there, and then I just didn't know how it could work, or if it's a lot more analytical than it ended up being, or if it's more performed, or what also my role is inside. But then it just seems to work quite nice as a format, so I'm quite excited with this form and how it allows for things to happen. So that's like, I think I'm gonna work with that. And then also, like, as I was researching and working on this, I really found this like the key, or the how to look at this whole topic, being this gap between the words, or this lack of meaning parts, like what I'm doing now, and to look at them like with an investigative, like much more specific sites. So really now that the material is kind of there, to now be able to kind of have that distance to really look at it and to discuss it with like a sociolinguist, or with someone who has a special knowledge of accents, or I don't know, and to really kind of investigate it more closely, so that it can also grow, and also to have the voices of others inside, because now it was basically just me. And this is also because in order to make someone appear in this strange way that I constructed, it requires a lot of time to know to make appear someone else when someone else is being read by other people, so that they are not misrepresented, or like that they don't become a caricature. So I could do it to myself for now, but the idea is to also have more characters, not just me inside. So that's another. So those are the two things that I think it's gonna grow grow forward. But then now I have this form, and also I have the material of my voice, so it can be much easier like handled, because I no longer have to record myself, which is really good.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today, Esther. I just want to thank Galway Theatre Festival and Galway 2020 for making this all possible. If you want to find out more about Esther, you can go to www.interactiongalway.com, or you can check out Galway Theatre Festival on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Thanks, Esther, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.